All right, guys and girls, I'm over here in Kansas City. Got a hotel over there. I'm over here to buy a truck. I've been talking to the Kenworth dealership for a while now, a week or so I guess, and they've got about 8 trucks from trade-in from the same fleet that I bought my other blue one from. And so been thinking about buying a new one to replace that glider of mine. And so I come over here. I rented a car yesterday, drove over here, and spent a few hours at the dealership looking at a couple of trucks. Now, I had previously looked at the ECM reports, so I kind of knew which one I wanted. There was 2 that kind of were really the only, you know, there's a lot you can look at with the ECM report, but unfortunately you don't really know the other story. So, you know, I'm looking at idle time, I'm looking at total engine time, which would basically just be drive time and idle time, right? So we can with idle time, with total drive time, and with total miles and total fuel consumption, the ECMs break it down: driving fuel consumption, idling fuel consumption, and total fuel consumption. For that, we can figure out what the fuel mileage was for that truck while driving, and then we can kind of go after the best one. Now, it's not really going to tell you much, because it just means whoever was driving it might or might not be driving it correctly. So, you know, the fuel mileage of the truck from those numbers don't really do much for you. But you gotta, you know, when you're looking at 8 trucks, you got to narrow it down somehow, right? So I've already done that. There was 2 that had idle times that were the lowest, which is still high, and so looked at those 2 trucks. Out of the 2 trucks, I liked one better. It had a little smoother idle, was about it. It might have driven a little better too, but it's kind of might all be in your head. And so I just wanted to go over those specs, just in case anybody's in the same position as I am. You're looking at possibly buying a truck, and you're interested in a modern truck, an automatic. You know, they're not all that new now, but they're new enough that we don't really know much about them, because very few of us can actually afford to spend $180,000, $150,000 on a very, very new truck. So we just don't know much about them. So the 5-year-old trucks are what us owner operators tend to look at because of the price range. So what I liked about the one I bought, the original one I have, I bought that 2 years ago. The fuel mileage was really good. The truck just performed really well. I wasn't in the shop a lot. We did have some breakdowns, and when we did have breakdowns, the price was pretty high, because it's Paccar, because it's got to go to dealership, because Paccar likes their parts, and so the price of each breakdown was fairly high, but we didn't break down very much. These trucks run pretty good. Now we always run the max mileage fuel catalyst that Pittsburgh Power sells. That's an absolute must no matter what truck you have. But we're going to run that, and we're going to run a good lubricity additive and a cetane boost, which is so we run 2 additives, and I'll just go over that. So we run the Pittsburgh Power max mileage, and that is to help with the after treatment system. And then we run either Hot Shot EDT, or we run Pittsburgh Power has an additive that is very similar to EDT, but you got to buy it through them. So, and that's called Flashpoint. So those 2 additives, either one of the Hot Shot or the Flashpoint, and then you have to run the catalyst on any of these modern trucks. I don't care if it's Freightliner, Volvo, Kenworth, Peterbilt, you got to run that. But once we run that, we really don't have that many problems with the emission system. I bought that first truck at 440, I think, and it's just under 700 now. And I've had the NOx sensors go out, both NOx sensors, the inlet and the outlet, which is pretty common for that year, you know, for how many miles is on there. So I've had both those go out that we had to change. And with the exception of that, we haven't had any emissions problems. We've had a radiator go out, but that could happen no matter what engine you have, or no matter what frame you have. And so these trucks have been pretty good, honestly. I mean, all trucks are going to break. We always have to have a breakdown budget, but really, they've been pretty good. So what I went with 264 rear ends, the 12-speed automated manual, and the Paccar MX-13 engine. They're set to 455, which is a very, very common setting for that engine, and it's pretty basic. Now these trucks have a 228 wheelbase. I pull flatbed, so wheelbase doesn't matter much to me. You know, it's not going to matter on fuel mileage, put it that way. If anything, I'd want it long. Now, where wheelbase would really matter is if you're pulling van or reefer, where you want to close up your trailer gap. And so the 228 wheelbase in the T680 Kenworth is as short as I've seen in a factory offering. So in a fleet, you know, one we can buy from a fleet. So that would be probably your best wheelbase. Now these trucks have a 12,000 pound steer axle. That's a problem. If you don't understand why, well, I'll just go over it, I guess. It's because we can't get the trailer far enough forward to close up the trailer gap for aerodynamics. Otherwise, we start to overload our front steer axle. So in this scenario, we'd want a 13,000 or 13.2 steer axle so we can move that trailer up without overloading our steer axle. And that causes several things to happen. We get our trailer gap closed up. We give our other two axles some wiggle room. We can be at 80,000 pounds. We can have 13,000 on the steer, and then we can have 31.5 on the drives and 31.5 on the trailer. And you don't have to get that tandem. You don't have to get that tandem right to the exact right position because you've got 1,000 pounds of wiggle room on your steer. So that's why you want to. But we're not going to find. It's very difficult to find a Paccar engine in any frame that has more than a 12,000 pound steer axle, because the Paccar is such a light engine. Everybody thinks, oh, we need a light steer axle. Well, yes, unless you want to close up your trailer gap and maximize your weights. So, but that's just something we're going to deal with in the used truck market, because the fleets don't understand that, or they do understand that and they don't care, because all they're worried about is not tearing up fairings with their drivers. So, so this truck is something that I've been able to perform really well with. When I did have a van connected to it, I was able to do over 10 miles to the gallon on a 2-month average. And that wasn't just one time. That was for 14,000 miles. I averaged 10.28, almost 10.3. So these trucks can get good fuel mileage when you do all the stuff. When you get the right tires, when you get the right aero, when you get you know, the right air filter, all the stuff that I've done to these trucks, we get really good fuel mileage. And so I'm going to try to document this new one, because everyone kind of wonders, is it just a fluke? Did I just get lucky with the one truck? I hope not, because I'm buying another one. But so I'm going to try to document it a little bit more, and kind of go through all the stuff I changed on this new one as I purchase it. And we're going to be changing tires right away. We're going to be doing all the stuff. And so kind of document that and see, can we do 2 trucks out of the same fleet that get similar fuel mileage? Now I run flatbed, and I'm not going to switch to dry van just to prove a point on fuel mileage. I'd love to, but I got to make money, so we're going to be doing flatbed with them. But we can at least see where they perform on flatbed. And by the way, the other truck right now, my current truck, it's got a 30-day average of over 9 miles to the gallon, or maybe it's just under 9. It's hovering between 9.1 and 8.9. So pulling flatbed, that's pretty good. And so I'm fairly certain we could connect a van to that and get over 10. So that puts us in a spot where we can be pretty profitable when we get in that kind of fuel mileage. Now you got to nail every other part of the aspect, every other aspect of the business as well. You can't just get good fuel mileage and expect to make money. You also got to get a high rate. You also got to make sure you take care of your truck and you're not breaking down. You also got to make sure you're looking at your fuel discount program, your tire discount program. your insurance, make sure you're not overpaying for insurance. So all of those things start to come into play. But this video is just talking about the truck and how I like it, and that's what I like. I like the 264 gear. It gives us some options. We can run direct, which is 11th gear at 55 miles per hour and run about 1250 on the RPM. That's pretty reasonable. That gets really good fuel mileage. It's pretty reasonable for that engine, 1250 RPM. Or we can go up to 62 to 68 and still get really good fuel mileage even at that speed in 12th gear. So I like that gear. The 279 would also be really good. We don't, because that's a little bit lower gear, we wouldn't quite get the ability to do 11th now. We kind of cut off the 55 in 11th because now 55 would be up around 1300 RPM. So, I mean, we could still do it. It wouldn't be ideal. So, this video is dragging on, so I think we're going to end it there. So stay tuned. I'll try to do some more videos on the new truck. I haven't technically bought it yet. So we'll see how that works.